more listening than talking, which is, I think, have been a really positive thing for me. And one of the things that I've found is the sense of pride that people have in our school system. And that, to me, resonates throughout the area. And there's a commitment to students and a commitment to achievement. You know, everyone wants their children, their grandchildren to be successful. And that's our job. It's our job to make sure that when our students come every day, we're doing everything in our power in every way to help every student succeed. Major challenges that I've identified. Student achievement, obviously, is a major factor. I mean, that's what we're in the business for. One of the things that's coming down the road, and tomorrow these will be released publicly, are letter grades. There's a new system in our state that will assign every school and every corporation a letter grade. And that letter grade is really a focus not only on state test performance, but the level of growth that students are achieving. So if I can break that down for you, it's not just a matter of kids just passing the I-STEP test or end-of-course exams at the high school level. It's about how much each student actually grew in their performance from one year to the next. And so you can't just put all your eggs in the basket of those kids who are struggling and make sure that they succeed. You also have to put an area of emphasis on all of your other kids, because there's an expected level of growth that the state is expecting to see from every student. And that's a whole new dynamic in our state. And you'll see the letter grades tomorrow, and the letter grades, from my perspective, throughout our entire school system, we run the range of grades. And the one thing I guess I'll just tell you tonight, because I can't speak more specifically about it, is that, to me, obviously our letter grades are very important. They are a reflection of how well our students are performing on state tests, but as I'll show you with some statistics later, they don't tell the whole picture of where we are as a school system. So I'll try to go into that in more detail. Finances are always important, significant. State revenues have continued to decline over the years. You've probably heard that and know that. That's been a significant impact. But more importantly, the revenue impact is not just fewer dollars per student, but also we have fewer students in our school corporation. I'm going to give you some data here in a minute. Local property tax funds. We will have lost $2.6 million of revenue in 2012 because of the tax caps. So the tax caps are something that were important in this state. It is now part of our Constitution, and it benefits many of us as individual homeowners. But it does not help us as governmental entities. So in 2012 alone, our revenue decreased for local tax funds by $2.6 million, which is roughly 10% of all of our tax fund revenue. That's significant for us. There's public relations. Obviously, that's a continued battle. When I first came down here, I was told that things can be perceived a little differently here. I've been in a couple other places of our state, and the public perception that people had, because probably the nature of how I came into the position, it was not necessarily a reflection of me, but there was some other issues and factors. There's a perception out there, and what my goal is to build bridges. I want to make sure that I'm not about taking sides. The only side I'm on are the student side. That's what I care about. So I know adults have all their issues, and you can read about it, you can talk to people about it, and they have all their issues, and I'm respectful of that. But what I try to do is I'm not here to take sides of any adult. I'm here to take the side of the kids and to advocate for them and to make sure we're doing the right things for them. And so we've got to work on this perception, because we're losing enrollment from our school corporation, and in part we're losing enrollment because there's a negative perception of our school corporation. People are leaving our school corporation to go and attend school in other school corporations, but they're not moving their residents. They have the ability to take their kids to another school, and they choose to drive them to another school system. For every 100 students we lose from our school corporation, that's over $500,000 of revenue. And I'll show you the impact of that here in just a second. So areas of current focus. The culture is really critical to me. I believe that it's critical that we have a culture where we expect 100% of ourselves and 100% of everyone around us. So if I'm a teacher, the expectation should be that I want my students to give 100% effort every day. If a student comes to turn in a paper, and I was a high school English teacher, if they come in and turn in a paper, I should be able to say to them, did you just give me 100%? And a lot of kids are pretty honest. They'll say, well, maybe not really. Why don't you go back and give me 100%? Let's instill the culture. When we get up every day as employees, are we actually giving 100% of ourselves? Even though we may not feel very good in the morning when we get up, there may be personal issues that we're dealing with at home, are we able to overcome those things to give our kids 100%? So that's really a very important aspect of our culture. We want to focus on what's best for kids, and I've listed some things there that I think are very important. And we need to communicate and collaborate. The only way that we can really make all this work is we've got to talk to one another, and we have to work together to overcome the obstacles and the challenges to do what's in the best interest of our students. Next slide. One of the things that we've engaged in is the strategic planning process. We've asked over 90 people in our community to come together to begin a strategic planning process. We've held 2 meetings. Our next meeting is tomorrow. The first thing we're doing is completing what we call a SWOT analysis. We identify our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And based upon what we identify, then we have to develop an action plan for how we're going to address those areas. And so the 90 plus people that we've asked to be part of it, we have a teacher, parent, and principal of every building in our school system. We have 3 high school students, 1 from every high school. We have board members, we have central office people, we have classified staff employees as part of that process. We also have governmental leaders and business leaders. So we're trying to say we're all in this thing together. We've got to work together to get the job done. Our major areas of focus are student achievement and instruction, finances, facilities and technology, and public relations. Our goal is to be working on this plan and present a draft to the school board no later than May 1st. I actually anticipate us being able to get it done sooner than that. But we want to do a thorough job and make sure that there's buy-in throughout our school corporation and our community. We hope to have it implemented for the next school year. So the mission that was identified by our school corporation is maybe more of a vision, truly, in terms of what do we want to become. We want to become the premier provider of education. But there are some goals that our board has created that I believe are very relevant. One is we want all of our schools to be A schools, which is a great goal, and we do have A schools. You'll see those come out tomorrow, but we have schools that are not quite to that level. We want to create classroom environments where students are engaged in what's called a collaborative inquiry. You know, we don't want to just do what I'm doing to you this evening, just talk to you. We want our students to be more actively engaged, collaborating, working together, so education is more relevant for them. Another goal is to maintain 100% market share. Those kids, we don't want them leaving our school corporation. We want our school corporation to be thought of so highly that there's no way you'd want to leave us. So we want to also be attractive enough so when people are moving down here to the area, we've got all this industry like Amazon that has decided to invest in our corporation. We want people to make a choice to come and go to our school system and not go anywhere else. I've met with Jerry Acey with River Ridge, and I came to him and he said, "You're the first educator that's ever done this." I said, "How can we partner with you for economic development purposes? Can we sit at the table when businesses are thinking about coming here to River Ridge? Can we be at the table to help them understand the commitment that we have to education. That if there's a specific workforce-related skills that these businesses need, then we have segments of our student population, I'm sure, that we can help to develop those skills so that they have meaningful opportunities after high school. To develop creative financing opportunities and prepare an updated facilities study are two other goals. All right, so student achievement. I'm going to go over a few things with you. If you go to the next slide, please, Chris. Demographics. One of our challenges that we have is these statistics were 11-12 school year, but our free reduced lunch population is currently 57%. It's probably higher than that, in fact. It's probably over 58% this school year. Now, the state average is 47%. So what does that tell you? It tells you that we have more kids who are coming from households that are really challenged, from a financial perspective. And so kids come and they have more challenges, and we have to do more to help them and assist them. Special education, we're just slightly above the state average in terms of our percent of special ed students. Our ESL students, those are English second language students. We have a large percentage of students who are Hispanic, and they're in pockets of our school corporation. For example, Parkwood Elementary over in Clarksville has about 55% of the school is Hispanic. So that's a huge dynamic for us to work with, because these kids come to us with very limited ability to speak English. English is not their primary language. English is their second language. So we need to spend a lot more time with those students to help them learn our language. And so it's a challenge. And then the ethnicity, it's okay, Chris, you're fine, ethnicity is about 30% is our breakdown. I believe our ethnicity is our strength. It is a strength. It's not something that is a weakness in any way. An enrollment. Look what's happened in enrollment since 2007-8. In total, what we're talking about, a loss of enrollment of about 650 students. And keep in mind, last year we received $5,400 per student. So if you just take $5,000 per student and you multiply it by over 600 students lost over that time frame, there's $3 million of lost revenue because of enrollment. We somehow have to stop the bleeding when it comes to enrollment. You won't be able to see this, so let me just talk you through this, okay? What this shows is language arts. The grades are going to come out tomorrow, and they're going to give you an indication of something, but what it will not show you is a true indication of how hard our staff has worked over the past 3 years. What I'll show you over here is that in English language arts, these are all of our elementary schools, but I want to point out, as a school system, from 2009 to 2012, our percentage of passage improved 15% over 3 years, compared to the state average of 8% over the same time frame. So our level of student performance over 3 years almost doubled the state. That's the kind of commitment that we've had. You can look at certain schools. North Haven in English language arts was 61% in 2009, but in 2012 was 83%. So that's an improvement in 3 years of 22%. That's unprecedented. The letter grades are going to come out tomorrow, and it won't reflect that. I mean, we're going to have to keep talking about our commitment and how far we've come. So let's go on to the next slide. This one will be math. Math as a district, from over the 3-year span, 19.3% improvement in test passage in 3 years. Almost 20% passage, compared to the state's 9%. So again, we more than double the state's performance in passage on state math tests. That's pretty impressive. Again, unprecedented. The grades will come out tomorrow, it won't fully reflect that. The next slide, please, Chris. All right, this is English 10 end of course exam. All students at our high schools have to pass both the English 10 and Algebra 1 end of course exams. Now, from a district perspective, if you look over the course of time, in 2010, only 53% of our kids, these are sophomores, when they first took the test, they have multiple opportunities throughout their high school career if they don't pass. On the first, this is the first attempt, only 53% in 2010 passed, compared to 71% in 2012. Again, significant performance increase. The state was at 76% over that same time frame, so we're below the state average. We need to work on that. The next slide will be Algebra 1. But look at Algebra 1 in 2010. The first time students took that end of course exam, only 46% of our kids passed it in 2010, compared to 64% in 2012. The state was at 69%, so we're again below the state average, but tremendous efforts in 3 years to improve our performance on the state tests. Next slide, please. So now this state A-to-F accountability is the new accountability plan. It will come out tomorrow, and as I've told you before, it's performance on state assessments with this focus on growth. There's also at an elementary middle school level, you have to have at least 95% of your students participating, which that's not an issue at all for us. In high school graduation rate, you also can earn, you're expected to be at 90%. And if you're at 90%, then you depending upon where you are, you can get some bonus points. Our graduation rate is about 77% currently. It's not what we want it to be. I think that we need to expand our alternative education program to help those kids who are really struggling in school, make it more relevant for them and keep them in school and keep them engaged. Next slide, please. I won't go over all this, but just to let you know that we've created some data dashboards. You know, what's measured gets done. And so what we've identified based on all these factors I've shared with you is what is the most important data that we need to track across our school corporation and be held accountable to. These dashboards, we're finalizing them and hope to get them out to the public as soon as we can. But we need to have them up. It needs to be out there in public. People need to see. They need to see the advances that we're making. They also need to understand that we have challenges. We know what those challenges are, and we are committed to making the changes we need to make. Goal clarity windows, just real simply, it's a big initiative. If you ask, well, how in the world did you have this percentage increase over 3 years? The process is that we identified what was most important in the curriculum, and we had the attitude, how do we know that kids have learned it? And if they haven't learned it, then what do we need to do about it? So it's not just about teaching, it's about learning. How do we know that the students have learned what we've identified to be what's most important? This goal clarity process was brought in by my predecessor. I've utilized a similar system in other districts, but it's been a big reason why we've had the performance increases that we've had. What we are currently focusing on is a program called Impact. And without going into too much detail with you, the whole idea of it is we need to break down education to help every individual child. Remember how I told you with our 8F grading system, they're measuring student growth of every child? Then we need to look at every child in our school system and figure out how can we help every child, regardless of their situation. That almost becomes a situation where you create a written plan for them. You have built-in, during the day, intervention opportunities to help kids get better. This will be something that will be rolling out at the end of the month of November so that we can get started on it in January. And it's designed to help kids individually become more successful. College and career readiness is a buzz phrase in the state. It's a good thing. It makes sense. I want all graduates accepted to a post-secondary program. Let me go over that for a minute. I want all of our graduates in our school corporation. We probably have about 800 graduates per year. I want all 800 graduates every year to have been accepted to a post-secondary opportunity. It could be a 4-year college, a 2-year college, a technical program, an apprenticeship, the military. I want every child accepted. It could be a workforce training program at Amazon. I want every child to be able to say to you that I have been accepted to this program. Not that I'm interested in attending, I'm planning, I'm hoping to do this. You've been accepted. If we have that happen, then our kids are college and career ready. So that is our focus, and these are different things that we're looking at to help kids get there. Another big issue that's really weighing heavily in our school